Hello everyone, welcome to Lunch and Learn 午间中文。
你好，
Hello guys，你好，还有
好，
Marilyn 妙莲，Yeah, I see a lot of old friends.
嗨，
So
妙
welcome
莲，小
everyone.
安，
你好，
你好，你好，你好，新年好，蛇年好。
新年
新年好。
好。
Yeah, everyone, happy the year of the snake. So feel free to open your camera and microphone to say hello to everyone. So we just give everyone one more or two more minutes to get everyone in the Zoom. So we will start our program today. Yeah, thank you, 廖老师，春节好。Yeah. So officially we are still in the new year of the 2025. So 春节好. It's Happy Chinese New Year. So
新
my
年
name
快
is
乐！
Yu. Yeah, 新年快乐. 晨曦, can you type 新年快乐 in character, in Chinese character in the chat box to everyone? Thank you.
哦，恭喜发财。
That's a higher level. Okay, one more minute, we will start today's program. So yeah, my name is Xichang Lin. So I'm from China Institute. So now China Institute is located in New York, but my I'm not in the New York now. So you can type where are you from in the chat box to let me know are you in the United States or other countries to join our program. And also feel free to type if you are the first time to join our program. You can raise your hands or type in the chat box if it is your first time joining our program. 有人从 April 是从 New York City，哦，Tina 是 Maryland，还有 Teresa 是从是哪里？Iowa US，还有 Kristen Diana。Welcome everyone. How many of you the first time joining our program? I see a lot of old friends from the camera. So anyone new to our program? Can raise your hand.
April，我刚才看见 April 是第一次，Ida 也是第一
April，
次。
阿妹也是第一次，Yeah。
对，欢迎欢迎，Welcome。
Okay, welcome. 哦，还有一个人从 Florida. Actually, I'm in Florida now. So welcome everyone. 欢迎大家. Okay, I think it's time. So let's start our program. I will start from introduce myself first. So as you have heard, my name is Yongqiang Lin, and actually I'm a guest teacher at China Institute. I'm from East China Normal University in Shanghai. So with our two graduate students, our two interns. So one is Wen Chenxi, who is joining our program today. Chenxi, you want to say hello to everyone?
Hello everyone, Happy New Year, 新年好！我是晨曦，I'm 晨曦 and I come from East China Normal University. My major is teaching Chinese to speakers of other languages. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Chenxi. And also, so after the introduction part, we will have Piao 老师 to start our lunch and learn today. So first, I would like to give everyone a brief introduction of our China Institute in American. So as you know, China Institute in American, it's located in New York City. So in downtown Manhattan. So we are a nonprofit organization is founded in 1926 by some American educators, John Dewey, and Paul Monroe, and also with some Chinese scholars, Hu Shi and Guo Bingwen. So, and China Institute in America is a nonprofit organization. We are dedicated to help and help the world understand Chinese better. So through a lot of program, culture program, educational program, and other programs open to the educators and the general public. So our Lunch and Learn is one of our public program to the general public. So we focus on the different topics for each sessions. So each seasons. So starting from last year, so we will have one expert from the different field of the Chinese culture to give the brief introduction of the Chinese culture. So this season, so we are very glad to have Piao Laoshi joining us to talk about the Chinese food and food culture. So I will introduce her later. Also, so the first part of this part of this program will be led by our intern Wen Chenxi. So to show you some Chinese radical. So you know the Chinese character is composed by different part. So the most important part will be the Chinese radical. It always carries some meaning or the sound of the Chinese character. So if you understand the Chinese radical, so it's very helpful. So you get the meaning or the pronunciation of the Chinese character. So after the first part led by Chen Xi, then I will turn the camera to Piao Laoshi. So I will introduce Piao Laoshi later. So now, Chen Xi.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Could you see my screen?
Yes, 看到了。
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Chen Xi. Today is our first Lunch and Learn session in 2025. So in the following 3 sessions, we are gonna to share with you the Chinese radicals related to eat and food. Today I'm gonna to share with you the Chinese radical 食. If you have seen Chinese menus, food packaging, or even some everyday Chinese words, you might have noticed a recurring symbol in characters related to eat. Now let's take a closer look at what this radical means and why it appears in so many food-related characters. The character 食 originated as a pictograph in Oracle bone script, depicting an open mouth eating food. As it evolved through so many years, its structure became more easier to write. In simplified Chinese, to improve writing efficiency, 食 was shortened to 食 when used as radical. So, but it's still preserving its original meaning related to food and eat. Then, let's look at some common characters that use this radical. You can read after me. 饭
饭
饭
饭
饺
饺
饺
饺
饺
饿
饿
饿
饿
馋
馋
馋
馋
馋
Very good. The last one. 饮
饮
饮
饮
饮
饮
Excellent. So when you say 食 in a Chinese character, it almost always has something to do with food or eat. It is a meaningful radical. So whenever you say 食 in a character, you will know it's likely related to food, eating, or drinking. And I want to share with you a very interesting in China. Before sharing, I have a question for you. So how to greet each other in America?
Hello.
Yes, maybe hi, how are you? But in Chinese, people sometimes will say 你吃饭了吗? It means have you eaten? So it's actually a way of showing care and concern. The typical response is 吃了. It means yes, I've eaten. But if you haven't eaten yet, you can say 走去吃饭. Okay, let's try to read together. 你吃饭了吗？
你
吃
吃
饭
饭了
了吗？
吃了，
吃了，
了？
走去吃饭。
走
吃饭。
Yeah, yes, very good. So next time when you meet a Chinese friend, try to say that 你吃饭了吗? If they say no, you can say 走去吃饭. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your cooperation. Hope you enjoy and Happy New Year. 新年快乐.
Thank you, Chen Xi. So I see Lily posted a question in the chat box. So the whole session will be recorded and posted on the YouTube later. So you can go back to review as many times as you want. Okay, thank you, Chen Xi. So the next part will be the we have the teacher Piao Jingling. So as you know, so for the long-term learn of this session, this season, so we will focus on the Chinese food and food culture. So Piao Laoshi will talk about the Chinese food from the different area of China and how does it related to the people and the culture there. So, and also how does it affect our life? So in different ways, and or maybe the connection between the Chinese mind, separate and daily life. So, and also just I want to give you everyone a very brief introduction. Our Piao Laoshi. So Piao Jinling actually she just finished his doctor degree in Cornell University, and she has returned to China recently and traveling there. So her research is focused on the Chinese etymology and focus on the food and the culture and the mind, the gender, or the relation between them. So we are very happy to have her join our this season's our long-term learn to share her experience and knowledge of Chinese food and food culture. So with no further delay, I'm turning the camera to 朴老师. 朴老师.
Yeah, I'm here. 大家好. Thank you so much for having me here, and also thank you for your very nice introduction, Lin 老师. I'm very happy to join this program and to share my what I learned from my field work about food, and then I would also like to learn what your experience of the Chinese food around the world in different parts of the world. So I prepared a set of slides for our talk today. So I'm going to share it with you. Is it clear for everyone to see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as Lin 老师 introduced, like I am an anthropologist. And then I work with a lot of transnational communities in East and Southeast Asia. And in China, I worked with ethnic minority communities in Sichuan and Yunnan in Southwest China. And during my field trip and field work, I paid a lot of attention to food, since it is very important element and part of people's ritual life as well as their daily life. So I would like to show you what I learned from the people I worked with. And then as I just mentioned, I was also very interested in your experience of Chinese food in your life. So let's start. I think I cannot see the question box right now through my sharing screen, but be free to type your questions in the chat box, and then we can discuss about them at the end of the talk, or you can raise your hand and then speak out at any point of our lecture. And so this season, our series, our program is going to talk about Chinese cuisine culture. I put 3 food on the cover of the slide. I would like to invite you to identify them. Do you know what food they are? Have you ever had experience of trying them? Be free to let me know if you can tell me, if you can tell everyone what food is it in on this slide. Anyone?
火锅、烤鸭、
Oh yeah. Oh, tofu.
What is the third one? Tofu.
Tofu.
Hot pot.
Yeah,
Hot pot
very
on the
nice.
right. Hot pot on the right.
Very
Kaya-
good.
Oh yeah, tofu to the left.
And in the middle is the what
Beijing
does
duck.
Beijing kaya.
Beijing
Delicious
Toyota,
duck.
Beijing duck. Very good. Thank you so much. These 3 food, as you said, in the middle is the Peking duck, the roasted duck. On the left, it looks like tofu, and it looks like a dessert in a very nice, beautiful bowl, like very nicely presented. And on the right, it is a hot pot, but in a very special kind of the heating pot, right? And then I wonder if you can guess like which city in China you can find all 3 of them in one city. And guess?
Beijing.
Very good. Yeah, Beijing. So today, actually, I'm going to following the introduction of this series, the following 3 talks, and then how these 4 talks going to be arranged, and then I will start to focus on the food Beijing cuisine, food in Beijing, to talk about for today's the rest of time. And so first of all, I want to show you a map to locate where is Beijing on the map, and also how the food it is influenced by other parts of the China. This is a map from Wikipedia to talk about the regional cuisines of China. So as a development of the Chinese cuisine, there are 4, started with the 4 major cuisine system, which is on the southwest China, the Sichuan cuisine on the southwest, and then on the east coast, on the top here, in the yellow shaded part, in the Shandong province, is this part of China, the cuisine in this part of China is called the Lu cuisine. And then the other 2 major cuisine system is also on the east coast, but in the southern part, one is Cantonese food in the south, called Yue Cai and Yue cuisine. And the last one, the most famous one, is below the Shandong province on the east coast as well, Jiangsu, in the Jiangsu province, which is Su Cai, and then which is also being known as the Huaiyang Cai. So these 4 major cuisine system being mostly formed around the Qing dynasty, and then being developed through the history, and now it is 8 major most popular cuisine in China, which is called 八大菜系, which are the yellow shaded areas on this map, which is on the southwest Sichuan, and then right to the Sichuan province in Hunan province is called Xiang cai. And then Yue cai next below the Hunan province. And then going up in the Fujian province is called Min cai. And all this name is actually the short term of these provinces. For example, Min is actually a shortened name for the Fujian province. And then Yue is just short term for the Cantonese, for the Guangdong province. And as follows, going up to the north, in the Zhejiang province, the cuisine there is called Zhecai. And up to the north a bit more, in the Anhui province, the dishes there are being categorized as the Hui cai. And the last two is the two of the original two major food system, Lu cai and the Su cai. So knowing this map is actually very important for us to understand why dishes in different places have a lot of difference, but also some similarity. They share some similarity in many aspects. And then knowing this, we can start to see how Beijing cuisine form itself and coming into being in today's shape. And today we are going to focus on Beijing food, but in the following 3 talks, we are going to explore another 2 Chinese cities and then the New York City in the United States. And then I chose these 3 cities for the reason that they actually have very, very different landscape and climate and geography. Beijing is in the around the center, even though it's in the northern part of China. And the second place we are going to for next week is going to be the Yanji on the northeast China, on the borderland between China, Russia, and North Korea. And this is actually my hometown, but I chose it not only because it's my hometown, but also it's because it has a very long history of the social changes in terms of how many workers' movements there and how these movements actually can impact on the food on their table. And more interestingly, there are many ethnic minorities there. For example, ethnic Korean communities in China. And also Manchu, Man people also come from this area before they moved to Beijing to establish the capital of the Qing dynasty. So this has a very rich history to talk about the food. And the third stop destination is going to be the Xichang on the southwest side. And this is where the Nuosu people, an ethnic minority group in southwest China, living. And as this map shows, this area has a lot of high mountains, and the elevation is very high. It gives offers a different array of the grains and the different animals for their ritual life, as well as what they eat on a daily basis. So this part, we are going to focus on how this ethnic minority group, in the rapid pace of the China's urbanization process, to deal with a lot of the food security issue, but also how they relate themselves to their ancestors and history through the food. And lastly, we are going to the New York City, where actually there's a very interesting phenomenon of the Chinese American food, which in every neighborhood, in every remote town, there is a Chinese restaurant for takeout, for Chinese buffet. So for example, it's in the Godfather movie, we can see like before the main character set out to carry out a mission, the mafia family actually ordered Chinese takeout to eat together as a practice before one of the person to set out to carry out a very important mission. And this not only Italian family but also Jewish family also have very long tradition of the having Chinese food on some festival or important occasion. But also for me, like a international student in the US, I was living in the upstate New York, and at that time there was a Chinese takeout restaurant in my college town. And I still remember, like, I can go there anytime, even at the very late in the night time after 12, and I can still get a food in 10 minutes. So we are going to talk about that history in the last section of our talk series. And so Chinese food in the US, I just want to briefly mention this, is like how it is being represented in many different, not only movies, documentaries, but also paintings. And it's much earlier than we thought, that even though it's still very popular today, but in the 1929, like Chinese food already being on the many corners of street and on the very big, including the big cities. And this painting is set in New York City, and then you can see the board of the chop suey, a very famous Chinese dish, like as a background. And so this we can, and then if we keep going back to the history, we can see like it all started with the first generation of Chinese immigrants in the US since the 19th century. And I want to recommend a very good documentary, The Search for General Tso. And it talked about how since the first generation of Chinese immigrants, Chinese food being developed, and how the Chinese restaurant network being established. And that's how actually all these restaurants being spread to the East Coast and many small remote towns all over the States. And in this documentary, I actually was very impressed by one of this documentary actually interviewed a lot of Chinese restaurant owners. And one of them is Cecilia Chang. And she had opened a Chinese restaurant in San Francisco in the 1960s. And she is famous for actually introducing very authentic Chinese cuisine that she remembered from her childhood to the US customers, to the US diners. And previously, the chop suey, this kind of dish, is believed to be more Americanized and more adapted to first to the Chinese immigrants, but later it spread to catering to the American customers. And so when she arrived in the US in the 1960s, she decided to actually to bring to the table what she actually ate in China when she was little. So she actually wanted give an opportunity for a lot of people to explore regional Chinese cooking, and such as the dishes from Sichuan and Hunan that no one in the US had eaten before she put all this dish on the menu. And she can do this. Her capacity of doing this is actually coming from her very privileged family background and upbringing. She had a very big family, 12 children in total, and she is the 7th daughter. And she grew up in a 52-room Ming Dynasty palace that took up an entire city block in Beijing at that time. But in 1939, when Japanese invaded in China, her family fortune suffered a lot. And later, with the revolution, she actually relocated herself to Japan with with her family, and then she actually moved to San Francisco around at the end of the 1950s. It was actually just supposed to be a short visit to her sister who lived in the neighborhood of San Francisco's Chinatown. But she didn't expect actually that changed the whole course of her life, because she took over a restaurant space that her friend initially wanted to do but could not do, but already paid a deposit. So she decided to hire a couple, a married couple from Shandong province, where the Lu Cai coming from, and then both of these couple turned out to be very talented chef. And then so she made them recreated the dish she remembered she had when in her youth. And then at that time, there were 2 cooks in her family to serve these dishes, such as mushy pork, tea smoked duck, pan-fried pot stickers, kung pao chicken, hot and sour soup, these dishes. And so she called the restaurant as Mandarin because it is a catch-all term that included not only local food from Beijing, but also food from Sichuan and Hunan. And then let's see why she thinks like Mandarin can actually means both, can be a catch-all term to encompass all this food. And then before moving on to that, I just want to show you 2 very interesting quotes. I moved from the interview she had before. She said, "I never cook, but I knew exactly what food should taste like and look like. Because she had chefs in her family, so she never had to cook, but she had a very good palate and a good memory, and that became the recipes for this restaurant." And the second quotation, she said, she thinks she's changed what average people know about Chinese food. They didn't know what China was such a big country. So on that map, as we see, even though there are 8 major food cuisine system, but different parts of China actually have different food. And even though they share a lot of similarity, but they have and then because of the different landscape, climate, but also history and the different trees. So actually a lot of ingredients, a lot of cooking techniques are very different. Today, we are going to focus on Beijing cuisine to see how Beijing food could tell us about a very rich history of the regional flavors and ethnic traditions. And Beijing food is actually majorly influenced by 2 major cuisine traditions. The first one is Shandong food, the Shandong cuisine, the Lu Cai. And the second one is the Huaiyang Cai, the Su Cai is one major part of the Su Cai. And then 3 examples that I chose to represent this rich history is, one is Imperial Kitchen in Beijing in the history. And then also Imperial Kitchen food, the menu is actually being reproduced nowadays in many different places, which is also a very interesting cultural phenomenon we can talk about in our Q&A if we have time. And then the second example I want to introduce is the aristocrat cuisines that are very important bureaus in Beijing, that how they brought their own personal chefs to Beijing and developed all these menus. And then the third major representation is Islamic food, the halal food in Beijing, because there are a lot of Muslim communities living in Beijing. So first of all, let's look at the Chinese imperial cuisine. I choose this. I found these pictures from internet, so it's not my picture, just as I don't want to take the credit, but it's from internet. So it's Chinese imperial cuisine. As you can see, it's set in the palace, right? And then it's majorly actually serve the emperors and the imperial family. So which the food they choose, the food they choose is actually very carefully selected, and then they have very elaborate cooking techniques and then very careful selection of the raw materials, which are often very, very expensive and also rare, difficult to find, and very complicated in processing, in preparation, and also processing. And as you can see, it needs to have very beautiful bowls. And then what kind of bowls for what kind of dish, what kind of plate for what kind of dish is actually also has its own principles. So the color and shape of dish are all arranged according to the protocols. And imperial cuisine is also coming from a very a big variety of the cooking styles in China, but majorly, as I said, is from Shandong provinces and Jiangsu provinces, and then the cuisine actually imperial cuisine is not only is started with the very long time ago around the Zhou dynasty, but it changes from dynasty to dynasty, and then each dynasty has its very distinguished features. But it came into the very complete form, very delicate form during the Qing dynasty, especially during the Qianrong Emperor time. And then we can see during the Zhou dynasty, which is around the 400 BCE. At that time, actually, a whole imperial cuisine set menu is actually only 8. And then I want to introduce you to a book if you are interested to reading about this history. It's called China in 7 Banquets. And in this book, actually the first banquet that the author trying to recreate and trying to describe and recreate is actually the 8 treasures from the Zhou dynasty. And this is a picture from this book to describe the different parts of the kitchen, how they prepare, slaughter, and then cook the food, and then cutting the food, drying the food. And you can see very different animals out there, like turtle, bird, fish, rabbit, and pig's head hang on the hooks on top. So this is one example that I found very interesting. And so that's where the imperial food started. And during the Qing dynasty, as you see, it's developed a lot. It's not only 8 anymore, it's actually almost 200 different dishes being recorded in the imperial food menus. And the presentation needs to be very pretty, very attractive, and then the color need to match each other. The plate needs to be carry the food in a very correct way, in a very appropriate way. So this is one picture I also found from the internet. And one of the dish I want to focus on is Peking duck that we just identified at the beginning. So Peking duck is actually first introduced as imperial food during the Yuan dynasty. But it was developed as a very important part of the imperial cuisine during the Ming dynasty. And Ming dynasty changed its capital from the Nanjing, from where the Jiangsu food, the Huaiyang food, the Su cuisine coming from. from Nanjing to Beijing. So Ming Dynasty changed the Ming Dynasty, the ruling family, the Zhu family, actually also from the Nanjing area, the Jiangsu area, Jiangnan area. So it changed its capital from the Nanjing to Beijing and brought this dish to Beijing. So that's why we today is, even though we call it Peking duck, it's actually coming from Nanjing. It's originated from Nanjing. And it's started also much earlier than Yuan Dynasty. It started around the 5th century. So this is actually one example of a dish, how a dish actually coming into being through a very long history. And yeah, this is a map. Just I want to refresh our previous memory about where Jiangsu is and where Shandong is. And then Nanjing is here on the map, and then the capital moved to the Beijing. And as we said, Peking duck, the roasted duck is actually was a Huaiyang cuisine. It's one of the major stream of the influence on the Beijing cuisine today. And even the very famous Manchu Han Imperial Feast that we very famously known as the Manhan Quanxi is actually also happened for the first time in the history, according to historian studies, is from actually the Jiangnan area, rather than happened in Beijing, because the emperor, especially Qianlong really liked to travel to the Jiangnan area through the Grand Canal. And then when he visited the Jiangnan area, the important bureaucrats and officials need to prepare a very good meal for the emperor. So they actually need to contain both the Manchu style food and Han style food. So they actually prepare this Manchu Han Imperial Feast in the when the emperor was visiting the Jiangsu area in the history. So and this Manhan Quanxi, the Manchu Han Imperial Feast, is first recorded in this book called the Yangzhou Huafang Lu. And this book actually not only recorded how what dishes is included in that feast, and then also and then also later we can see like who actually prepared this dish, and the person who prepared this dish is also a official who is actually very influenced by his wife, who is from the Shandong area. So she actually had a very, like the Cecilia Chang, she had a very good memory of what she ate when she was a kid before marrying to this official whose name is Ruan Yuan. And then so she actually contributed a lot for the Shandong Lu Cai influence part of the imperial feast that happened in the Jiangnan. And as you can see, the Shandong cuisine has a lot of the seafood, because Shandong is on the east coast, like very close to the ocean. So it has not only shrimp and fish, but also very expensive food like abalone and sea cucumber stuff, and even the shark fin in the imperial feast.
右边是什么？
哪
是
个？
一条鱼吗？
是这个吗？
对了，
的右上面，对，是一条鱼。下面这个是鱼，对的，它是炸了以后弯成了一个形状。
哦
，right，
对，尾巴啊哈，是炸的，是炸的吗？
是炸的 ，it's deep fried。 And it's actually there was a very famous Shandong dish called Tang Cu Li Yu. I think it's actually, it doesn't look like that because the sauce is different, but it's in the same shape actually.
糖醋，
And then the second part, I just noticed I'm kind of running time, so I'm going to be a bit faster on this part. It's about the aristocrat cuisine. And then aristocrat cuisine is a lot, one very big example we can see that history is from this note called 随园食单. In this book is actually recorded Yuan Mu is a poet. He actually he really enjoy eating, but he also went to different her friends who are also officials houses because they have good chefs. And she recorded more than 300 dinners in this book. So this is where we can see a lot of aristocratic cuisine. And I want to show one very beautiful example. It is this dish. Can you guess what is made of this soup?
Lamb?
It's kind of vegetarian. I'm not sure about the soup, but I think it's
Celery?
not meat. It's celery, exactly. It's a celery soup. But for this aristocrat cuisine, they actually have a very beautiful name. They don't call it celery soup. They call it 碧煎羹, like the green water soup.
Is it like a palate cleanser?
No, it is actually one of the main dish.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah. And then this dish is actually recorded in this book in the Qing Dynasty, but it is actually firstly recorded in a Song Dynasty dish. And then a Tang Dynasty poet, Du Fu, actually wrote about this in his poem. And people at that time, poet officials like to recreate this kind of dishes in the historical records. So in this point, you can see on the third line, like 鲜己银丝块香芹碧煎羹 is exactly describing this dish. And lastly, the Muslim food, the halal food is also a big influence, big contribution to the Beijing cuisine, because there are many Muslim communities and populations in Beijing. And one big community center is this mosque in Beijing Niujie, the Bull Street. And you can see, even though it's mosque, but the style of the building is actually quite Chinese, quite Han, right? Like quite palace style. And they also have this kind of festival, and then there will be a lot of food being served to the general public. And lamb is very big part of the halal food in Beijing. And also pastries. So this is called 驴打滚, which is very famous Beijing snack, street food, but it's also halal of pastries. And then very beautiful dessert like 蒸糕, as you can see in the picture. It has many layers, it has many different ingredients, and it was delicious. And so these are also actually coming from that tradition.
怎么吃法？这么大的饼，
They cut it into small pieces if you want. And so as a summary, I want to say like a Beijing cuisine, it has, we saw like a Peking duck is actually has the Ming that influence old capital in Nanjing, and it's majorly Han, and also like a halal hot pot that we saw at the beginning is the Mongolian that Mongol influence during the Yuan Dynasty, and then a lot of Beijing old snack actually also have Manchu influence that we saw at the beginning in that picture with a very nice small ball. But unfortunately, I didn't include any picture here since we ran out of time. I'm sorry. And then, but it's more complicated than that, right? It's not only this history of the different dynasty, but also a lot of regional flavor and ethnic tradition, like Huaiyang food, Shandong cuisine, Lu Cai, Huaiyang Cai, and also Islamic influence. So in the end, I want to show you this picture. You can see it said this is a vendor's like a street front shop for the palace aromatic and crispy beef pancake in the New Year in the Muslim community area. And then they actually kind of combine everything, right? The palace style, but it's also halal food. And it's also a kind of pancake that is also has some Manchurian like style. So yeah, that's all. We have 10 minutes, so any questions and comments are welcome. And I also would like to hear your experience with Chinese food in your life and in your travels.
Yeah, thank you, Piao 老师. We have some questions in the chat box.
All right, I will
Yeah,
stop
you
sharing
may
here
stop sharing. Yeah.
so I can see the questions.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions and comments. Thank you for sharing, everyone.
Great.
您看一看那个 chat box 里问题，我们可以过一下。
好的，好的。Where should I start?
我觉得从
Can someone raise your hand and then tell me your question that in the box, because there's so many.
妙莲，然后 Marilyn 有一个，她是在那个呀。
妙莲. Oh, please write the two teachers' names in Chinese. Okay. And
已经写了，谢谢。
已经写了，谢谢。And tofu duck soup. Oh, very good. And 八大菜系. Oh, there's already answered. Can you write the name in the chat of the Chinese cuisine in Shandong? Oh, very good. Thank you so much for sharing the answer as well. And then what is the names of the movie again?
哦，已经回答了，那个问题回答了。Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not on the Cecilia Chang, but Cecilia Chang was interviewed in that documentary called The Search for Generous Hall. And is there a special Chinese word for takeout? Why my? Okay, thank you. And then can you write the name in the chat of the cuisine Shandong? Okay, good.
Yeah. 写过。
Oh, about the 蔬菜 and the 淮扬菜 relation, I just want to have a quick response to that. It's like 淮扬菜 is actually part of the 蔬菜 because Huaiyang is a part between the Huai River and the Yangtze River. That region is called the Huaiyang Cai area. Like Huai'an, Yangzhou, that area is called Huaiyang Cai. So it's in many cases, like people think Huaiyang Cai is just 蔬菜, but it's you can equal them, but actually it's one major, like a very big part and maybe most important part of the 蔬菜 style, cuisine. And does the photograph indicate that it's served as a buffet with persons eating? Marilyn Wong, which photograph are you referring to? I'm not
You
sure.
said you took it from, it was an imperial banquet, and you took it from the internet, and all the pictures were laid out on the table, but there were no people. And how would the people eat it? 他们不坐下来。
其实是坐下来的，我可以再回去一下。因为你可以其实看到，它其实是在每个桌子前面是坐下的，是每个桌子前面都会摆设 ，and each person is sitting behind each of these smaller table, and on the top, in the middle, like the bigger table is for the emperor. And then actually for this imperial cuisine, there are 6 different feasts that are being recorded in history, and they are being served for different occasions. For example, for the occasion of the emperor's birthday, for the occasion of the treating the generals that who has a lot of feast, a lot of like contribution for the warfare or the victory of warfare of those stuff. So actually there are 6 different kind of feasts that are being recorded. So when the emperor treating these people, actually people sitting behind each table to sit down to eat.
I see. So for the emperor's birthday, that's when he could order in advance. Well, not he, but his eunuchs could order all of the ceramics to celebrate his birthday with symbols painted on the ceramics. Is that correct? Because ceramics from Beijing and they're imperial ceramics from the Qianlong period that are quite elaborate. And I'm thinking that's when they would be ordered to be made for this banquet. I mean, here we couldn't see the ceramics in detail, but they would, you mentioned that they're served on very special ceramics.
Yes, I'm not sure about the ceramics for the Qianlong's birthday one because I didn't see exactly the archive for that. But for generally, like for this kind of banquet, it's actually served with the colorful like those ceramics with the definitely with the dragons for the emperor, but other people also could use the like silvers, but it need to be look very like luxurious. And also the dishes actually served, everything is actually on the protocol. I don't know how much the emperor decided, or is instead it's the imperial kitchen decide that, and also the external imperial affairs committee also decide that, because in that time it has internal and external one, and external one part actually department in charge of this kind of 6 feasts for the imperial palace cuisine. So it's firstly served with the cold dishes and then hot fried dishes, and then they also followed with da cai, they call it big dish, and then followed by the sweet dish, and then also it needs on each table it need to be arranged before all these dishes being served, has 4 different kinds of fruits, 4 different kinds of dried fruit, 4 different kind of the fruits that you for only for viewing, and then 4 different kind of sweet pickled fruits as well. So it has all its different regulations, I believe. Does this answer your question, Marin?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, 太复杂. It's
yeah, it's very complicated. 很复杂。
谢谢。
谢谢。
不用谢。Any other question? We may have time for one more question. Is imperial banquet for daily dining or special occasions? Oh, I think I just answered this question in my previous answer. Like, imperial banquet, the major 6 feast is for the special occasions. I can actually read into it. One is from the Mongolian like kings, and one is for the officials, 廷臣宴, and one is 万寿宴 is the birthday party for the emperor, and 千叟宴 and 九白宴 and 节令宴. 节令宴 means like for because there are 24 season seasons in the Chinese lunar calendar, and then each that when that time comes, it also has a feast. But I believe for the like daily life, it's also, you know, like their dishes need to be arranged, but the emperor probably will eat by himself on his own or with his family. Okay, I saw hands up. Do you have question?
Yes, thank you for the wonderful talk.
Thanks.
You mentioned that some of the foods, the 3 ones that in the beginning you can find in Beijing. So I was wondering if the ethnic food in Beijing, if in your opinion, or maybe your friends' opinions, do you find them to be authentic tasting compared to the local areas? Like, do they accurately reflect the local cuisine, or are they also changed in some way to reflect more of a Beijing taste?
Thank you for your question. That's a very nice question. I think my opinion is like I call it halal food as a way to say it's a as a way of saying it's in a cultural sense, like people have this food, but I believe like in each location, like they actually have their own interpretation and understanding of making it. And for example, next, I think the following week, I'm going to talk about my hometown food. Like it's a lot of Korean food, and they call it like Yanji food is neither Korean nor Chinese. It's just Yanji food, you know. So I would like to call it Beijing halal food in that sense, if that makes sense. But it tastes very good. So I never been to other parts of Muslim communities. I think North West is a very big community, like concentrated Muslim communities there, but I've never been there. So I would like to see in the future like how different it is. So if you guys could tell me, also be free to email me. I think the time is up, so I'm so sorry I couldn't answer all the questions, but Lin Lao, could you actually save this text so that I could know the answer, and then I could maybe answer briefly next month when I before I start next talk.
Yeah, sure. So the last question. So 最后一个人的问 Are all the food eaten with the same utensils, or are there special utensils for certain foods? 就这最后一个问题。
Actually, I didn't do much research on that, so can I do some research and let you guys know?
Okay, 好的 Yeah. Thank you, 朴老师 Yeah, and thank you everyone. So time flies quickly. So yeah. So and for this time, so we have learned a lot of food from Beijing area. So the Beijing duck and also a lot of snacks. So when 朴老师 mentioned about 驴打滚, so the snack, so it's just bring me back to my university life in Tianjin. That's very famous local dishes there, so local dessert there. So thank you everyone. So I think that will be all for today. And just to remind everyone so that our next session will be the March 7th at the same time. So, and please register and we'll come back. And during that time, if so we will post the recording on the YouTube, so you can share the link with your friend or review it by yourself. So any questions, I think 朴老师 just shared her email, so feel free to contact her. Okay, thank you everyone. I think that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
朴老师。
谢谢你们，
谢谢
老师，
谢谢周
再
姐，
见，谢谢，谢谢。
谢谢，
再见。
Thank you.
再
everyone.
见。Yeah, see you next time.
待会儿见。